The wind didn't howl. It screamed, like a banshee tearing through the Rocky Mountains, ripping at the reinforced glass windows of the Aspen Ridge Resort like claws on a chalkboard. The kind of wind that doesn't just chill you, it infiltrates, seeps through the microgaps in window seals, door frames, the spaces between your thoughts where warmth used to live. Commander Jack Reaper Thorne sat alone in the corner of the marble-floored lobby, away from the fireplace where the resort's elite huddled in their $1,000 ski jackets, sipping $70 whiskey like it was water. He didn't belong here. Not anymore. His calloused hands that had breached doors in Ramadi, hands that had pulled brothers from burning vehicles, hands that had taken lives to save lives, now rested on worn denim. One hand absently stroked the graying muzzle of the Belgian Malinois lying at his feet. Gunner, 10 years old, slower now, hip dysplasia creeping in like the wind through those window seals, but still loyal, still there when the nightmares came at 0300 hours. When Jack woke up choking on phantom sand, tasting copper, seeing faces he couldn't save. The dog's breathing was steady, rhythmic, the only thing keeping Jack's heart rate below tactical alert. On the small table beside him sat a folded American flag in a shadow box. 13 folds, each one a prayer, each one a weight. Next to it, a photograph, creased, faded, held together by Scotch tape and stubbornness. 3 men in desert camo, arms around each other, smiling like they owned the world. 2 of them were dead. Jack's thumb traced the edge of the frame, a ritual he'd performed 10,000 times. His jaw clenched, the muscle there twitched. A tell he'd never been able to train out of himself, no matter how many ops, how many poker games with the boys, how many therapists the VA had thrown at him. The anger lived in his chest like a second heart, beating, waiting. It had started overseas, watching warlords walk free while villages burned, seeing bureaucrats shake hands with monsters while good men bled out in the sand. The injustice of it all had carved something hollow inside him, filled it with rage that had nowhere to go. So he'd walked away. Honorable discharge. Commendations he kept in a box he never opened. A pension that felt like blood money. And now, here he was, trying to be a civilian in a world that moved too slow and cared too little. Trying to be peaceful. Failing. Jack's eyes scanned the room. An old habit. Situational awareness never sleeps. Exits, 3. Threats, 0. Obstacles. A dozen trust fund 20-somethings who'd never missed a meal, never slept in the dirt, never. Gunner shifted at his feet, a low whine in his throat. Easy, boy, Jack murmured, his voice like gravel scraped over concrete. We're just here for the night. Storm passes, we're gone. But Gunner's ears were forward now, his body tense in that way that made the hairs on Jack's neck stand up. The way he used to get 3 seconds before an IED went off, before rounds started snapping overhead, before everything went sideways. Jack followed the dog's gaze across the lobby. And that's when he saw him. But before we go any further, because what happens next will make your blood boil, let me ask you something. How many times have you seen injustice happen right in front of you and felt powerless to stop it? We cover real stories like this every week. Stories the mainstream won't touch. Stories that matter. If you're tired of surface-level content and want the raw truth, subscribe now. Because when the next story breaks in your community, wouldn't you want to know first? And if you're still not subscribing, drop a comment. What's holding you back? I genuinely want to know. The boy really couldn't have been more than 25, wore confidence like a tailored suit, which he also wore. Armani probably, maybe Brioni. The kind of outfit that cost more than Jack's truck. Brandon Whitmore 3. Jack didn't know his name yet, but he knew the type. Generational wealth written in his posture. Entitlement dripping from his smirk as he held court with a gaggle of similarly dressed sycophants. The Whitmore family owned half the resort. Mining empire. Tech investments. The kind of money that bought silence, bought politicians, bought whatever the hell they wanted. Brandon was mid-story, hands gesturing wildly, his voice carrying across the marble. So I told the valet, if there's a scratch on it when I get back, you're paying for the whole door. Guy looked like he was going to cry. His friends laughed. That particular empty laugh of people who laugh because they're supposed to, not because anything's funny. Brandon turned, still laughing, not watching where he was going, and walked directly into Gunnar. The old dog had been slowly rising, that arthritic dance of age trying to get comfortable. He was halfway up when Brandon's Italian leather shoe caught him square in the ribs. Not hard enough to injure, but hard enough to hurt. Gunnar yelped, a sound that drove an ice pick straight through Jack's chest, and stumbled sideways, legs splaying. Time slowed. Jack was already moving before his conscious mind registered the decision. 20 years of training made him fast, made him smooth, made him lethal. But he caught himself, breathed, found the line between warrior and civilian. Barely. Hey! His voice cut through the lobby like a blade. Watch where you're going. Brandon stopped, turned. His eyes swept over Jack, took in the worn Carhartt jacket, the faded jeans, the calloused hands, and dismissed him in less than a second. Your dog shouldn't be in the way, Brandon said, his tone the verbal equivalent of a shrug. This is a 5-star resort, not a kennel. One of his friends snickered. Jack's jaw clenched. That muscle twitched again. Gunnar had retreated behind Jack's legs, a behavior the dog had never shown in his prime. He was trembling now, not from pain, but from the sudden shock, the confusion of being hurt when he'd done nothing wrong. He's a service animal, Jack said, his voice dangerously quiet. He has every right to be here. Brandon looked at Gunnar, then back at Jack, his lip curling slightly. Service animal? For what? PTSD. He said it like it was a punchline. His friends laughed again, and something in Jack's chest cracked. Not broke, cracked, like ice on a frozen lake, spreading spiderweb fissures across a surface that had been holding too much weight for too long. His hands balled into fists at his sides. Do it. Take 2 steps. Put him through that marble column. Watch his friends scatter like the cowards they are. You've taken down men twice his size who were actually dangerous. This entitled piece of... Gunnar whined again, pressing against Jack's leg. And just like that, the ice held. Barely. You should apologize, Jack said, his voice flat now. Dead calm. The kind of calm that made his old teammates nervous. The kind of calm that came before violence. Brandon laughed. Actually laughed. To a dog? You're serious. To him, Jack said, looking down at Gunnar. And then to me. The lobby had gone quiet now. The resort guests had noticed. Some were filming on their phones. Of course they were, because nothing said modern civilization like recording conflict instead of intervening. Brandon stepped closer, invading Jack's space in that way bullies do when they've never been checked. Or what? You going to make me? His breath smelled like expensive cognac and poor decisions. I know who you are, man. Saw you check in. Jack Thorne. Veteran, right? PTSD, service dog. The whole sob story. He sneered. You're not special. You're just another washed-up soldier playing hero. This is the real world now. Money talks. And you? He glanced at Jack's worn clothes. You don't have any. Have you ever stood at the edge of a decision that would change everything? Not a small decision. Not what's for dinner or which movie to watch. I'm talking about the kind of decision where you can feel your future splitting into 2 paths. And you know that what you do in the next 5 seconds will determine which path you take. Jack stood at that edge. Path 1, 3 moves. Dislocate shoulder. Chateiro orbital bom. Drop him before his friends could blink. Walk out. Never look back. Let the anger win. Path 2, walk away. Swallow the rage. Let this entitled child go unpunished. Be the bigger man. Be civilian. Be weak. He chose neither. Gunnar, Jack said quietly, his eyes never leaving Brandon's. Come. The dog limped around Jack's leg, and Jack knelt slowly, checking his ribs with practiced precision. The same way he used to check teammates for injuries in the field. Gentle, thorough, professional. Gunnar licked his face. And something in that gesture, that simple, unconditional love from a creature that had every right to be afraid, to be angry, to lash out. Something in that broke through the rage. Jack stood, met Brandon's eyes one more time. One day, he said quietly, You're going to realize that money can't buy the one thing you actually need. Yeah. Brandon smirked. What's that? Character. Jack turned away, collecting his belongings, the flag, the photograph, his small duffel, and headed toward the elevators with Gunnar at his side. Behind him, he heard Brandon's friends laughing again. Heard Brandon's voice. What a loser! The elevator doors closed, and Jack exhaled for what felt like the first time in 10 minutes. What would you have done? Seriously, put yourself in that moment. Some entitled punk disrespects not just you, but the one thing in your life that's kept you sane, kept you alive through the dark nights. Do you walk away, or do you teach him a lesson he'll never forget? Comment below, I want to know. Walk away or teach him. And if you haven't subscribed yet, here's the thing. Stories like this only get told here. The mainstream media won't touch them because they don't fit the narrative. But we do. Every single week. So 3 men. Brothers, really, even if they didn't share blood. Marcus Ghost Lawson. Left side. Tall, lean, always smiling even in the worst situations. Killed by an IED outside Mosul. Jack had been 50 yards away. Heard the blast. Ran toward it. Found pieces. David Doc Rodriguez. Right side. Built like a tank. Gentle like a priest. Took 3 rounds in the chest protecting a translator and his family. Died in Jack's arms. Blood bubbling on his lips as he made Jack promise to stay good, stay clean. Don't let the anger win. Jack hadn't kept that promise. And in the middle, young and stupid and convinced they'd live forever, Jack Reaper Thorne. The only one left. You know what the hardest part is? It's not the nightmares. It's not the hypervigilance or the way loud noises make me reach for a weapon that isn't there. It's the guilt. Survivor's guilt, they call it. Like that makes it better. Like naming it takes away the weight. Why did I live? Why did Ghost and Doc die while I got to come home? Got to have a future, got to wake up every morning. And what have I done with that gift? Gotten angry. Pushed people away. Turned into the kind of man who almost puts a civilian through a wall because he kicked my dog. Is that what you died for, Doc? For me to become this? Jack was on his feet instantly, combat instincts firing. Gunnar barked once, his alert bark. Jack moved to the door, looked through the peephole. Chaos in the hallway. Guests streaming out of rooms. Staff in resort uniforms running toward the stairwell. Smoke, thin but visible, seeping from under a door 3 rooms down. Fire. His door flew open and he stepped into the hall. Everyone stay calm. A resort manager was shouting, her voice barely audible over the fire alarm. Please proceed to the main stairwell in an orderly. Where's the fire? Jack's command voice cut through the panic, that tone he'd used in combat that made people listen whether they wanted to or not. The manager turned, saw him, saw something in his bearing that registered authority. Electrical fire, 8th floor west wing. The backup generators failed. Storm damage. We're evacuating everyone to the main lobby until we can contain it. Jack nodded, already assessing. 8th floor. Wind chill -40 outside. If the power's out, heat's out. Backup generators down means emergency lighting only. How many guests on this floor? He asked. 43 rooms. We think we've accounted for everyone except... She checked her tablet, her hands shaking. Room 851. The Whitmore Suite. No response to calls or door knocks. Of course.
Brandon Whitmore Suite.
Every fiber of Jack's being wanted to say, not my problem. Wanted to walk away. Wanted to let karma do its thing. But then Gunnar pressed against his leg. Looked up at him with those dark eyes that had seen him at his worst and stayed anyway. And Jack heard Doc's voice in his head. Stay good. Stay clean. I'll check it, Jack said. Sir, you're a guest, you can't. Ma'am, I'm a Navy SEAL with 16 years of combat experience. If someone's in that room and doesn't know there's a fire, every second counts. You want to argue protocol or save lives? She blinked, then nodded. Room 851. Down the hall on your left. Jack moved. Here's what most people don't understand about courage. It's not about never feeling fear. It's not about being the biggest or the strongest or the most skilled. It's about doing the right thing even when everything in you is screaming to do the opposite. Jack Thorne had every reason to walk away. This guy had disrespected him, mocked his service, hurt his dog. But he didn't walk away. And that's what separates heroes from everyone else. If you've ever been in a position where you had to choose between what's easy and what's right, drop a respect in the comments. Let's build a community of people who understand that honor matters. Subscribe if you want more stories about real people doing extraordinary things. Because the world needs to remember that heroes still exist. Or don't subscribe, and drop a comment telling me why. Let's talk about it. The hallway was filling with smoke faster than it should. Bad sign. Jack reached room 851, pounded on the door. Fire alarm. If you're in there, respond now. Nothing. He tried the handle. Locked. Of course. Gunner back, Jack ordered, and the dog retreated 10 feet. Jack took 2 steps back, sized up the door. Hotel doors are designed to be secure, but Jack had breached worse under enemy fire. One kick, right next to the handle where the bolt meets the frame. The door burst inward. Smoke billowed out thick, black chemical. Jack dropped low where the air was clearer, pulled his shirt over his nose and mouth. "Anyone here?" he shouted. The suite was massive. Living room, kitchenette, 2 bedrooms. Smoke obscured everything more than 3 feet away. Not Brandon's voice. Jack moved toward it, muscle memory from 1,000 tactical entries guiding him. Staying low, feeling ahead for obstacles. Listening. The crying was coming from the far bedroom. He pushed through the smoke, found the door closed. The only thing keeping that room relatively clear. He opened it, and stopped. 3 children, huddled together on a king bed, the youngest, maybe 5 years old, sobbing into the arms of what looked like his sister, maybe 12. Between them, a boy around 8 trying to be brave and failing. No Brandon. No adults at all. "Hey!" Jack kept his voice calm, authoritative but not scary. "I'm here to help. Where are your parents?" The girl looked up, mascara running down her cheeks from smoke and tears. They went to dinner, left us with Brandon. He went to get ice and never came back, and then the alarm started and we didn't know what to do and, of course he did. Brandon had been babysitting his younger cousins, or siblings, didn't matter. And when the alarm went off, he'd saved himself and left them. Jack felt that crack in his chest spread a little wider. But there was no time for anger now. "Okay, listen to me," Jack said, moving into full operational mode. "We're leaving right now. The smoke is getting worse. I need you to follow my instructions exactly. Understand?" All 3 nodded, the younger 2 still crying. "Good. What are your names?" "I'm Emma," the oldest said. "This is Tyler and that's Lily." "Emma, Tyler, Lily, I'm Jack. I'm gonna get you out of here safely." "Tyler, I need you to hold your little sister's hand and not let go no matter what." "Emma, you're behind them. I'm in front. We're going to move fast and low. Keep your heads down. If the smoke gets too thick, close your eyes and hold your breath, but keep moving." "Got it. Got it," Emma said, her voice steadier now. Leadership recognizes leadership. Jack pulled the comforter off the bed, dunked it in the bathroom sink, wrung it out partially, then tore it into pieces. "Put these over your faces," he said, handing each child a wet cloth. "Breathe through them. It'll help with the smoke." He grabbed a soaked section for himself, then opened the door. The living room was worse now. Flames visible through the smoke, crawling up the curtains near the window. The fire hadn't reached the hallway yet, but it was spreading. "Stay with me," Jack said and led them out. They moved through the suite in a crouch, Jack in front clearing the path, checking for hot spots, for structural dangers, for anything that might collapse or explode. Gunner was waiting in the hallway, barking. That sharp, insistent bark that meant hurry. Smart dog. They made it to the hallway and Jack counted heads. 1, 2, 3. All there. "Go, go, go." He ushered them toward the stairwell, Gunner leading the way now, the dog's training kicking in. The stairwell was packed with evacuees, but everyone moved aside when they saw a soot-covered man with 3 terrified kids. They descended 8 floors in what felt like both seconds and hours. burst into the main lobby where staff were doing head counts and the smell of smoke was already seeping through the ventilation system. A woman screamed, "Emma, Tyler, Lily," a well-dressed couple. 40s, expensive jewelry, terror in their eyes, rushed forward and swept the children into their arms, crying, checking them over, pulling them close. The mother looked up at Jack, her face a mess of tears and gratitude. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you, thank you, thank you." Jack nodded once. "They're safe. That's what matters." Who are you?" "Nobody," Jack said and turned away, but the father grabbed his arm. "Wait, you saved our children. Please, tell me your name." Jack looked at him, then at the kids. Emma meeting his eyes with something that looked like respect, Tyler and Lily still clinging to their mother. "Jack Thorne," he said finally. "Commander, U.S. Navy SEALs. Retired." The man's eyes widened. You're a SEAL?" "Was. And you ran into a burning building to save children who weren't even yours?" Jack glanced down at Gunnar, then back at the man. "That's what we do," he said quietly. "We save people who can't save themselves." The fire was out. The West Wing was damaged but contained. No casualties. The backup generators were being repaired, but it would be hours before power was restored. The resort staff had converted the main lobby and conference rooms into a makeshift shelter. Blankets, coffee, food from the restaurant served buffet style. Jack sat in his same corner, Gunnar at his feet, watching the organized chaos. His hands had stopped shaking. The crack in his chest felt different now. Not wider, deeper maybe, but different. Emma's family had tried to talk to him 3 more times, offering everything from money to connections to whatever you need. He'd politely declined. Told them he was just glad the kids were safe. Told them to focus on their family. What he didn't tell them was that saving those kids had done something to him. Something he couldn't quite name yet. For the first time in 2 years, the weight in his chest felt lighter. Jack's head snapped up. Threat assessment automatic. A group of people had just entered from outside. Emergency responders, resort management, and between them, looking wet and sheepish and furious, Brandon Whitmore III. Apparently, he tried to drive down the mountain in the storm after abandoning the kids. Got stuck 3 miles out. Had to be rescued by search and rescue. Emma's father saw him and launched across the lobby like a missile. "You!" His voice carried over every conversation, every sound. "You left them. You left my children in a burning building." Brandon stammered. I went to get help. I was going to come back." "Liar." The father lunged, and it took 3 resort staff to hold him back. Jack watched, emotionless. The mother was crying again, Emma holding her. Tyler and Lily pressed against their father's legs as security separated him from Brandon. And Brandon, with the self-preservation instinct of a cockroach, scanned the room for allies and found none. But he found Jack. Their eyes met across the lobby, and something passed between them. Not forgiveness, not understanding, recognition. Brandon saw in Jack's eyes exactly what Jack had been thinking earlier. How easy it would have been. How satisfying. How justified. And he saw that Jack had chosen differently. Had saved the people Brandon had abandoned. Had been the man Brandon would never be. Brandon looked away first. Jack couldn't sleep. Never could after adrenaline spikes. His body was still in combat mode, still running scenarios, still ready for the next threat. Gunnar slept beside him, twitching occasionally. Chasing rabbits in his dreams probably. Or insurgents. Who knew what dogs dreamed about? "Excuse me?" Jack looked up. Emma stood there, wrapped in a resort blanket, clutching a cup of hot chocolate with both hands. "Can I sit?" she asked. Jack gestured to the floor beside him. "Free country." She sat, careful not to spill her drink, and for a minute neither of them spoke. Finally, "You didn't have to save us." "Yeah, I did." Brandon didn't. Jack considered this. Brandon's a coward. Cowards always run. My dad wanted to hurt him. Really hurt him. Your dad loves you. That's what love looks like sometimes. Rage on behalf of people you die for. Emma took a sip of her cocoa. Are you always this intense? That surprised a laugh out of Jack, the first genuine one in weeks. Yeah, probably. Is it because of the war? There it was. The question everyone wanted to ask but rarely did. Jack glanced at the photograph on the table beside him. Emma followed his gaze. Who are they? She asked. My brothers. Are they dead?
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Jack nodded. He'd heard that phrase 10,000 times. It never helped, but people needed to say it. Me too. Is that why you saved us? Because you couldn't save them? And there it was again. That simple, cutting question. The kind only kids ask because they haven't learned yet that some questions are supposed to stay unspoken. Jack was quiet for a long time. She doesn't know it, but she just cut right to the heart of it. The core of everything. Why do we do the things we do? Why did I run into that building? Why did I risk my life for 3 kids I'd never met? Therapy would say I'm trying to compensate. That I'm trying to save everyone because I couldn't save Ghost and Doc. But that's not it. Not really. The truth is simpler and more complicated. I saved them because that's who I want to be. Not the angry guy who almost broke a kid's face in a lobby. Not the washed-up soldier who can't hold a job or a relationship. Not the man haunted by ghosts and failures and rage. I want to be the guy who runs toward danger when everyone else runs away. I want to be the guy my brothers thought I was. I want to be worthy of the fact that I lived and they didn't. Yeah, Jack said finally, his voice rough. Maybe that's part of it. I couldn't save them, but I can save other people. So I do. Every chance I get. That's really brave, Emma said. Brave would have been saving them too. You can't save everyone. Doesn't stop me from trying. Emma leaned against his shoulder. A gesture so trusting, so innocent, it nearly broke him. My teacher says that heroes are just normal people who choose to do the right thing even when it's hard, she said. I think you're a hero. Jack's throat tightened. I think you're wrong, kid, but I appreciate it. I'm not wrong. She said it with the absolute certainty that only 12-year-olds possess. You saved us. That makes you a hero, whether you think so or not. Sound. Gunner shifts, wakes up, licks Jack's hand. Jack looked down at his dog, then at the photograph, then at this kid who barely knew him but saw something in him that he'd forgotten existed. And that crack in his chest? The one that had been spreading since Brandon kicked Gunner, since he'd run into that fire, since he'd realized he could still be more than his anger? It started to heal. Not completely, not magically, but for the first time in 2 years Jack thought maybe he could be okay. Maybe he could live with the ghosts without letting them possess him. Maybe he could honor Ghost and Doc not by being perfect, but by trying. By choosing to be better. Thank you, he whispered. For what? Emma asked. For reminding me why I do this. She smiled, finished her hot chocolate, and after a few more minutes of comfortable silence, went back to her cot where her family slept. Jack sat there until dawn, one hand on Gunner, one hand on the photograph. And for the first time in a long time, the weight didn't feel quite so heavy. Can we talk about something real for a second? This isn't just a story about a rescue. It's about every one of us who's carrying something heavy. Guilt, anger, regret, loss, whatever your ghost is. And it's about the choice we make every single day. Do we let it destroy us? Or do we find a way to turn that pain into purpose? Jack Thorne chose purpose. Even when it was hard. Even when everything in him wanted revenge instead of redemption. What's your choice? If this story is hitting you in the chest right now, if you know exactly what I'm talking about, subscribe. Because we tell stories about real people facing real struggles and finding real courage. Only subscribers get the full story, the behind-the-scenes content, the interviews with people like Jack. Don't be left behind while everyone else is part of this community. And if you're still not subscribing, seriously, comment why. What's stopping you? Let's have that conversation. Jack was at the front desk, checking out when Brandon Whitmore III appeared. He looked like hell. Wet, disheveled, defeated. His parents stood behind him. Older, well-dressed, their faces hard with disappointment. Mr. Thorne. The father, Brandon Whitmore II, stepped forward, hand extended. I need to speak with you. Jack shook it, wary. About my son. He turned to Brandon. Go ahead. Brandon's jaw worked. This was clearly costing him. I wanted to apologize. For last night. For kicking your dog. For what I said about your service. For... His voice cracked. For leaving Emma and Tyler and Lily in that room. Jack studied him. Looking for sincerity. Looking for the trick. He found neither. Just a scared kid who'd finally hit a wall he couldn't buy his way past. Why did you leave them? Jack asked quietly. I panicked. Brandon's hands were shaking. The alarm went off and I ran. I didn't think. I just ran. You know what courage is? Jack asked. It's not never being scared. It's being scared and doing the right thing anyway. I know that now. Do you? Or do you just know you got caught? Brandon flinched. His mother put a hand on his shoulder, not comforting but steadying, making him stand there and take it. Both, Brandon admitted. I'm not good at being honest, but I'm trying to be honest now. I was scared. I ran. I left 3 kids in danger because I was thinking about myself. And you, he looked at Gunnar, then back at Jack. You saved them. After what I did to you, after what I said, you still saved them. That's what decent people do. I'm not a decent person. Not yet, Jack agreed. But you could be, if you choose to be. Brandon's father cleared his throat. Mr. Thorne, my son has a lot of growing up to do. That's on us, his mother and I. We gave him everything and taught him nothing about what matters. But he's asked to speak with you, and I'd appreciate if you'd hear him out. Jack glanced at his watch. His checkout was processed. His truck was packed. Gunnar was ready to go home. But something in Brandon's face, that raw, terrified honesty, made him pause. 5 minutes, Jack said. I've never been scared before, Brandon said, stirring his coffee without drinking it. Not really. Not like last night. Fear is a teacher, Jack said. It shows you who you are when everything else is stripped away. I didn't like what I saw. Good. That's the first step. Brandon looked up. To what? To becoming someone you can respect. Silence. Brandon's coffee sat untouched, cooling. My parents want me to go to therapy, he said finally. They think I need to process my trauma or whatever. But honestly, I don't think I deserve to play victim. I'm not the one who was traumatized. Emma was. Tyler and Lily were. They're the ones who'll have nightmares about this. Jack took a sip of his own coffee. Black, bitter, perfect. You're right. They will. But that doesn't mean you get to ignore what happened either. You made a choice. A bad one. You live with that. Learn from it. Do better next time. What if there isn't a next time? What if I just stay away from situations like that? Then you'll never know if you learned anything. Jack leaned forward. You want to know what separates men from boys? Men run toward the fire. Boys run away. And the only way to know which one you are is to face the fire. Brandon's hands shook around his coffee cup. What if I run again? Then you run again. And you keep trying until you don't. That's all any of us can do. Is that what you did? Keep trying until you didn't run. Jack thought about Ghost and Document. About the missions where he'd been terrified but went anyway. About all the times he'd wanted to quit, to give up, to let the anger win. Yeah, he said. That's exactly what I did. Still doing it, actually. Even with the PTSD and everything? Especially with the PTSD and everything. Jack scratched Gunnar's ears under the table. This dog? He's not just for show. He's here because some nights I wake up and I don't know where I am. Some days I hear a car backfire and I hit the ground. Some weeks I'm so angry at the world I can barely function. But I keep trying. Keep choosing to be better. Keep choosing to help people instead of hurt them. Like not breaking my face yesterday. Exactly like that. Brandon almost smiled. Almost. Emma told me what you did. Running into the fire. Getting them out. She said you didn't hesitate. Hesitation kills. She thinks you're a hero. Jack shook his head. I'm not a hero. I'm just a man trying to do right by the ghosts I carry. The guys in that picture? The one you keep looking at. Jack nodded. What happened to them? They died so other people could live. Just like they trained for. Just like they swore to do. And every day I'm alive is a day I have to make that sacrifice mean something. Brandon absorbed this, really absorbed it. That's a lot of weight to carry. Yeah, but it's my weight. And I choose how I carry it. I can let it crush me. Turn into a bitter, angry man who hates the world. Or I can let it drive me. Push me to be better. To save who I can. To make my life count for something. Which one are you choosing? Jack glanced down at Gunnar. Then at the morning sun streaming through the windows. Highlighting the mountains where the storm had passed. I'm choosing to try, he said. Every day, I'm choosing to try. Some days I fail. Most days, honestly. But I keep trying. Brandon nodded slowly. I want to try too. To be better. To be someone who doesn't run. Then do it. Stop wanting. Start doing. How? You apologize to Emma and her family. Genuinely. Not because your parents are making you, but because you mean it. Then you figure out who you want to be, and you start making choices that build toward that person. Small choices. Daily choices. The kind nobody notices except you. Would you help me? Teach me? Jack studied the young man across from him. Saw the genuine plea there. The desperate hope that someone might believe he could be more than his worst moment. And Jack thought about the SEALs who trained him, mentored him, believed in him when he was just a cocky kid from Colorado who thought he was invincible. I'll give you my number, Jack said finally. You want guidance, you call. But I'm not going to hold your hand or do the work for you. You want to change? You put in the work. Understand? Yes, sir. And Brandon? If you're doing this to impress your parents or make yourself feel better, don't bother. Do it because it's right. Do it because those kids deserved better. Do it because the man you want to be wouldn't have run. Got it. Got it. They shook hands. And Jack saw something in Brandon's eyes that hadn't been there yesterday. Humility. Real, earned humility that comes from seeing yourself at your worst and deciding to be better. Maybe the kid had potential after all. The Rocky Mountains stretched out in every direction, covered in fresh snow that sparkled like diamonds in the morning sun. The kind of beautiful that made you believe in something bigger than yourself. Jack drove in silence, one hand on the wheel, one hand resting on Gunnar's back. His phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. Thank you. For everything. I won't let you down. Brandon. Jack typed back. Don't let yourself down. That's what matters. Another buzz. Emma's father. We can never repay you for what you did. But if you ever need anything, anything at all, you call us. Your family now. Jack didn't respond to that one. Didn't need to. He looked at the photograph clipped to his sun visor. Ghost and Doc. Smiling like idiots, arms around him. I'm trying, brothers, he said aloud. I'm really trying. Gunnar whined softly, pressed his head against Jack's arm. And Jack realized something. The crack in his chest wasn't a crack at all. It was an opening. A space where light could get in. Where healing could happen. Where he could start to forgive himself for surviving. Jack was in his garage, working on his truck's oil change, when Gunnar barked from the driveway. He rolled out from under the vehicle, wiped his hands on a rag, and saw a familiar figure standing there. Brandon Whitmore III, but different, leaner, scruffier, wearing work boots and jeans instead of Armani. And there was something in his posture, less arrogance, more confidence. The real kind, earned through sweat and failure and trying again. Hey, Brandon said. Hey yourself. What are you doing here? Came to show you something. Brandon held up an acceptance letter. Got into the Colorado Fire Academy. Start in 2 weeks. Jack stood, really looked at the kid. Firefighter. Yeah. Figured if I'm gonna face my fears, might as well run straight at them, right? That's what you said. Men run toward the fire. Jack felt something warm spread through his chest. Pride maybe. Hope. That's good, Brandon. Really good. I also wanted to show you this. Brandon pulled out his phone, showed Jack a picture. Brandon with Emma, Tyler, and Lily at what looked like a fair or carnival. All of them smiling. "We meet up once a month," Brandon said. "I'm trying to be the person who should have been watching them that night, not the person who ran." "How's that going?" "Hard. Really hard. But worth it." Brandon pocketed his phone. "I also started volunteering with a youth program for at-risk kids, teaching them about responsibility, consequences, choices. Figured maybe I can help some other entitled rich kid avoid becoming who I was." Jack nodded, swallowed the lump in his throat. "You did it. You actually did the work." "I'm still doing it. Every day. Just like you said." Brandon extended his hand. "Thank you, Jack, for not giving up on me, for showing me what a real man looks like." They shook hands, and this time it felt like equals, like brothers almost. "You did this yourself," Jack said. "I just pointed the direction. You walked the path. Still, thank you." After Brandon left, Jack stood in his driveway, watching the sunset paint the mountains orange and gold. Gunnar limped over, pressed against his leg. "We did good, didn't we, boy?" Jack murmured. The dog looked up at him with those knowing eyes, tongue lolling in what looked suspiciously like a smile. Jack's phone buzzed. Dr. Martinez, his therapist. "Reminder, session tomorrow at 2 p.m. How are you feeling this week?" Jack thought about it. Really thought about it. For the first time in 2 years, his answer wasn't angry or numb or barely holding on. "Better," he typed. "I'm feeling better." He went inside, made dinner, nothing fancy, just pasta and vegetables, and sat at his small kitchen table with Gunnar at his feet. The photograph of Ghost and Doc sat propped against the salt shaker. "I think I'm finally getting it," Jack said to them. "You didn't die so I could punish myself. You died so I could live. Really live. Help people. Make a difference. Be the kind of man worth surviving for." He raised his water glass in a toast. To brothers. To second chances. To choosing better. Somewhere, in whatever comes after, he hoped they heard him. Hoped they were proud. And for the first time since he'd lost them, Jack thought maybe, just maybe, they were. "You know what I learned from all this? It's not about being fearless. It's about being afraid and doing it anyway. It's not about never being angry. It's about choosing what you do with that anger. It's not about being perfect. It's about trying, failing, and trying again." That night at the Aspen Ridge Resort, I had a choice. Be the man my anger wanted me to be, or be the man my brothers died believing I was. I chose my brothers. And in choosing them, I chose myself. The better version. The version that saves instead of destroys. That builds instead of breaks. That runs toward the fire instead of away from it. Brandon had that same choice. And to his credit, he chose to be better too. We all have that choice. Every single day. Who do you want to be? The person who kicks the dog? Or the person who runs into the fire? The person who abandons the helpless? Or the person who stands between them and danger? The person who lets their pain destroy them? Or the person who transforms that pain into purpose? It's your choice. It's always been your choice. Choose wisely. Choose well. And when you fail, because you will fail, we all do, get back up and choose again. That's what heroes do. Not because they're superhuman, but because they're exactly as human as the rest of us. They just refuse to let their worst moments define them. This is Jack Reaper Thorne. Stay safe out there. Stay good. And never stop trying to be better than you were yesterday. If this story moved you, if Jack's journey resonated with something in your soul, then we need you in this community. We don't do surface-level hero worship. We dig into the grit, the pain, the choice to be better even when it's impossibly hard. Subscribe right now, because next week's story is about a Marine who saved an entire village with nothing but a knife and sheer will. The week after that, a Coast Guard rescue that went horrifically wrong and somehow right. These stories don't tell themselves, and they only reach people like you who need to hear them if you subscribe and share. So here's my question. What's stopping you? If it's "I'll do it later," let me tell you, later never comes. People who say later are the same people who run from fires instead of toward them. If you're still not subscribing, I genuinely want to know why. Drop a comment. Tell me what you need to see. What's holding you back? Let's talk about it. But if you're ready, if you understand that these stories matter, that honor and courage and redemption matter, hit that subscribe button right now. And if you know someone who needs to hear Jack's story, someone who's struggling with anger or guilt or the weight of their past, share this with them. Sometimes the right story at the right time can save a life. Be the person who shares that story. Subscribe, comment, share. And remember, you're not just consuming content. You're joining a brotherhood and sisterhood of people who believe that good still exists in this world. Welcome to Silent Trident Stories. Welcome home.